So let's dive into these activities. Let's look at data processing and service. We'll start with the obvious one for these guys, which is the storing and processing of data, which they do within their CRMs, within their software systems, like DezRez, for example, and the kind of things that they would do processing that data. So they're going to take information like the number of bedrooms someone might be looking for, the area they're looking for, the budget they've got, those kind of things. And that's all part of providing the service. And how the GDPR affects this area is actually not sending, but processing that data.
Yeah, so being able to document what your data process is a key requirement, because what you need to remember is that if the ICO or a customer complains and the ICO needed to find out what your process was, are you able to find out quickly what that process is? Do you have the documentation? Is everybody in your organization aware of how they should be handling data? And that's the key piece there, to keep the trust and the security of that data. But the other thing to think about here is your agencies and suppliers. You touched on there, the CRM system. You, as the controller of the data, need to make sure you're doing your due diligence, that that supplier or agency or consultant, whoever has access to that customer data or is processing it, have the secure infrastructure in place to look after that data. And there are several clauses that you now need to have within contracts to prove that you've done that due diligence, to prove that that supplier and agency is going to adhere by that and look after your customers' data. The ICO has a brilliant document on this that includes all of the clauses that need to go into both the contract between yourself and the agency or supplier, but also that the supplier is going to need to have in their contracts to you as the controller of that data.
So it's what you need to demonstrate compliance, or how you demonstrate compliance, should I say, which is the data policies, the privacy policies. We've got the legitimate interest assessment, which we'll talk about a bit further. Where to get them, what goes in them, what they look like, those kind of things. And we're going to help you with that after the video. But it's nothing really to panic about. No,
nothing at all. You just need to feel comfortable that you have the process documented, that you have evidence that you have spoken to your supplier and they have guaranteed that they will handle the data in this way, and your process accommodates that by doing X, Y, and Z. And that's unique to your organization, that's unique to your business. And that's why sometimes it's a little bit tricky, because it isn't necessarily a one-size-fits-all answer, and I know that can be really frustrating. But the number one question that's the same to everybody is, what do you want to do with that data, and how are you going to store it? Do you have consent and permission for it? And if you do, what does that look like? Or touching on what you were saying earlier, are they already a customer and therefore they're expecting a service from you? So have they come to you and said that they want to look at a particular property, but they may not sign up to your email newsletter? You're providing a service at that stage, and then you could ask them if they're interested in signing up. I think that's the other piece, that people think that they have just one type of consent and then they can't ask for anything else. Of course you can. If you already have consent to send an email newsletter, you could ask them if they wanted to receive something else, want to receive offers from you. There's nothing stopping that at all. But you can't send them it in the hope that then they want to receive it.
Well, we can touch on that a bit later, because there are ways of mixing messages within your communications. And again, we've got this far and we haven't deleted any data yet. So we're doing well, guys. Let's see how much further we can get. So let's talk about this thing that we mentioned, which was using data for service provision. A couple of very simple points up there: service provision or marketing and any overlap. And then obviously the existing relationship, the grounds for usage. And very, very important here, an existing customer relationship, as an agent, it might not be they've given you any money. The service starts the minute they register with you, the minute they walk through your door, they call you because they want to see properties, or they want you to start managing their properties. That's when your service starts. You haven't taken any money, but they've definitely come in and asked you to provide them with a service. And again, let's think about this element of complaint. If someone has asked you to do something for them, there isn't going to be a complaint, because it's what they're expecting. So let's touch on this. We just mentioned this a minute ago. Yeah. Someone comes to me, I'm an agent, they walk into my office, I say, "Hi, Jenna, what are you looking for?" You tell me your area that you're looking in, you tell me your budget, and I said, "No problem, we'll be sending you those properties via email, thanks very much for registering." You go out happy, expecting me to send you properties.
Yeah, so that is a service. Can you include marketing messages in service messages? You can, but the balance needs to be higher to be a service message. It is still service messaging. You can't start loading it full with marketing messages and offers within that first communication that you're sending. But on the other side of that, if your marketing team are wanting to send the communication, then it's more likely to be a marketing message and not a service message. So you just have to have a little bit of common sense with that approach. But yeah, of course, you come in, that customer's engaged with you. Like you said, they may not have actually been a transaction there, but they want something from you. They want information from you. They want your service.
And that's the relationship, and that's the reason to hold the data and process the data, which is the GDPR bit. There's no emailing yet.
Yeah.
And then the reason to email them, which is the e-privacy bit, which is they want that information from you. And to drop in a message about legal or mortgages or whatever it is that you're trying to do to help that service along, if it's beneficial and the customer's expecting it, great. Again, don't go sending them the email about shoes.
Exactly.
So we'll just touch on the marketing, just to finish off this bit, is that if you are marketing to clients, if it's not properties they've asked for, or if it's not service updates on tenancies they're involved in, or managing their properties, and it is actually trying to market a service to them, this whole element of client relationship, you can use that to try and gain the consent. And obviously, if you've got consent, then that's a green light.
Yeah. The key word is evidence, and this is the part where I think there's been a lot of scaremongering about the evidence piece, but you have that process documented, you are storing that data securely, you've done your due diligence with your suppliers, you're making some real steps as a business to make sure you're looking after customer data and you're keeping that trust and security in place. If you start using that data for reasons that you don't have consent for, because you want to, for whatever reason, then that's where you're not being GDPR compliant. That's where customers are more likely to complain.
And actually, you're not being e-privacy or PECA compliant,
No.
which has been in place for, gosh, 20, where are we now, 2018, 20, 30 years now. And actually, the point of that's where you can't email people without a reason. And if you're breaking that, you're breaking that already. The people that have been fined, you hear about Honda and Flybe and Morrisons, they weren't fined under GDPR, they were fined for breaking the e-privacy laws, which are currently in existence. And that's what we need to remember here.
Yeah, exactly, and the ICO has been very, very clear on that. You can't break one law to be compliant with another. And a number of organisations have fallen over on this. And those legislations, like you said, they've been around since the 1970s. The GDPR is there to make sure that you are holding data with consent, you have permission to send to, and you're secure. You're using it in a secure way. That's what the GDPR is. E-privacy and PECA, they remain as is. They're here today. So if you're already not compliant against those laws, then you really need to be having a look at that as a starting point.
And you can find them, same website, the ICO website, they'll explain exactly what they are. They're not very difficult. It's basically your reasons to contact someone. In fact, it's digital, so your reasons to contact someone digitally, and it just goes to the same thing here. Number one, you've got consent, or number two, you have an existing client relationship.